Hi, I'm Pastor Kurt, and this is your 5-minute Bible study. Today, we're going to look at Acts chapter 4, verse 32, through Acts chapter 5, verse 11. Now, the beginning part of this passage talks about how kind of the early church was just starting to form. Remember, this is very close to the beginning of the book of Acts. We've had the Ascension, we've had Pentecost, we've heard about Peter and John helping people and talking about Jesus. Now the community is kind of starting to get off the ground a little bit, but they're trying to figure out how they're going to live together. Like, what does a Christian community look like? Well, in the early verses of this passage, we hear that one of their defining attributes was that they shared everything that they had. There was no one who was needy among them. Everybody shared with everybody else, right? They helped everybody else, which is great, right? That's a good thing. We're supposed to help people. Well, in the second half of this passage, we hear about two people, a husband and wife, whose names are Ananias and Sapphira. Well, they're part of this community, and they were bringing kind of their offering. They were coming to share their resources with the rest of the group, but we're told that they kept some back for themselves. Well, as the scene goes on, the husband, Ananias, is questioned, saying, why did you keep some of this back? And he reluctantly kind of confesses that he did, and then he drops dead. Then his wife, Sapphira, is kind of questioned, asking, why did you hold some of this back? She doesn't know what just happened to her husband, that he just dropped dead. Then she kind of reluctantly confesses, and then she drops dead. It's a weird scene, okay? It can sound like if you keep something back for yourself and you don't share everything, then God's going to strike you dead. Okay? Relax. That's not the point of this passage. This passage is showing that these two were kind of more thinking about themselves instead of thinking about others. Now, yes, you can have savings accounts. You can have money to buy food for your own table. You can take care of your family. There's nothing wrong with that. But the problem here comes in when that's your focus. When your focus is only on you and your family and your tight little circle, and you're not thinking about the larger community, then that's when you get in trouble. But in our culture, that kind of seems to be the way a lot of people live. That a lot of people are so focused on themselves, their family, their little tribe, their little clan, their little group, that they seem to forget about the community, right? That is sometimes a problem in our world, that we don't think about others. But, of course, that's not everybody. There are a lot of people in our world who do think about others. They do want what's best for the community. They are generous and giving, right? Even when you're generous and giving, you can still take care of your family. Yes, that's fine. That's good. But you're also focused beyond yourself. This is what this section here is about, okay? The early church is starting to form. They're figuring out what it means to live as a Christian community. And one of their defining attributes, as I said, is that they take care of each other. They make sure that no one is in need. This is what the church does, right? Even today. The church is known for helping people in the name of Jesus. Think back to the previous video about Peter and John, how they helped this guy and they also told people about Jesus. This is what the church does. We help people with our actions and we also talk about Jesus. We are generous in both regards. Sometimes the things that gets different congregations in trouble is when they're only focused on themselves. When they're not focused on the greater community, that's when they get into trouble. And that kind of behavior can eventually kill them. When you become so inward focused, that is the very definition of sin. Sometimes sin is defined as being curved in on yourself. right? You are so focused on you and your little group that you don't think beyond yourself. What the church does, what the church is about, is reaching beyond ourselves in the name of Jesus. That's what Peter and John did, and that's what this early community was doing. This couple here, they died not because it was some divine punishment from God because they didn't share everything, but they died because their selfishness kind of killed them, right? They weren't thinking beyond themselves. So as we think about what it means to be church and what it means to be Christian, how our discipleship is lived out, one of the key attributes is that we share abundantly. We give, we take care of others beyond ourselves. And when we do that, the whole world gets to benefit. There's your 5-minute Bible study. Please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.